In today's deck profile video, EX10 Sinister Order adds nothing to this deck. But sometimes when I think about older cards and look at more recent ones, it clicks on what could suddenly make a really fun deck based on interactions. Agumon Bond of Bravery was released in BT6, and although we also got the Ace variant in recent sets, generally Greymon decks haven't performed since BT11, and frankly, neither does Bond of Bravery. But today's video showcases a few elements of the Digimon card game in that it's not just a typical deck building video, but understanding the nuances of card effects that can always help you. For a brief review over the overall concept of what BT6 brought to the table, there were three primary cards starting the whole line. First, there was an Agumon that all turns. When you play a tamer with Taikami in its name, you gain 1 memory, and an inheritable that gives an additional security attack +1 if it's Agumon Bond of Bravery in name. Interestingly, this and the Gabumon are one of the few level 3 Digimon that have reactive effects on your opponent's turn, that even if your opponent checks it in security, it's like hitting X to anybody. The second card being Taikamiya, that whenever you promote up an Agumon or Greymon named Digimon, you gain 1 memory and draw 1 card. But aside from cards and memory, this tamer also allows you to warp Digivolve into Agumon Bond of Bravery for a cost of 3 by sacrificing 2 of your security cards disregarding its level. At the instance you resolve this effect, if you have 1 or more security, that Digimon is deleted at the end of your turn. This is a crucial aspect in that should you go to 0 security and then recover, your Agumon Bond of Bravery remains in play. And finally, the Agumon Bond of Bravery itself simply has a when attacking effect, where when attacking, if you have a tamer, you delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 13,000 DP or less. It is noteworthy that this effect supplements the your turn effect of trashing an opponent's security when an opponent's Digimon is deleted. While it's fine and dandy that you could cheat this monster of a Digimon out, trashing your security seems pretty bad, right? At first I thought about this and wondered, what could I do to possibly mitigate this deck's initial flaws, and then I realized something. With the introduction of BT15, this introduced 2 new key cards that might help this deck. BT15 Gatomon is a Digimon that when it's trashed, whether it's yours or your opponent's effect, it plays itself out without paying the cost. Additionally, whenever your security is removed from, this Digimon gains 1 memory, again, either yours or your opponent's turn. But because of its inherent barrier effect, this does make it effective especially for chip damage. Not only would this Digimon offer an effective means of providing chip damage, while simultaneously taking out your security to threaten damage each turn, but it's also the option card this set released in the form of Revelation of Light. Revelation of Light is a 4-cost yellow option card that has a main effect in which you search your security stack, and may play 1 level 4 or lower yellow Digimon from your security. Then shuffle your security stack. The keyword here is may. You don't have to, but you can. What makes this card even better is that if you have a tamer with Kari Kamiya in its name in play, you place this card on top of your security. Now when your opponent checks security, or trashes your security, an effect immediately goes through until your turn. And while these are just 2 cards that can assist with security, the last card that I felt was honestly really hilarious to test with was the Reppamon from BT22. Reppamon is another Digimon that when an effect would trash this card from the security stack, you may play this card without paying its cost. It also has an on-play effect and when Digivolving effect, in which one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 3000 DP until their turn ends. But if you trash the top card of your security stack, instead, that DP reduction goes to 6000 DP. The interesting combo here is that if you use Revelation of Light with Kari in play, and you see this card in the security, you can use Revelation of Light to play out this Digimon, shuffle the security stack, then resolve the Revelation of Light's effect to place it on top. Now with Reppamon appearing, you can trash that same Revelation of Light you just played, to DP reduce one of your opponent's Digimon by 6000 DP, before the Revelation of Light blanket reduces by 5000 DP. In other words, this 2-card combo can put threats on the board, and even potentially delete some level 6 Digimon despite having battle or deletion based protection. But while you may be wondering, okay, what if you can't DP reduce your opponent's Digimon enough? This is where your Agumons do most of the legwork. While True Tie's traditional Agumon is red or black, Marcus Damon's Agumon fulfills a lot of the critical roles that we need, because it not only offers us that Agumon Digimon for going into Bond of Bravery, but that yellow color source as well. Because of this enables clean transitions from that red koromon egg to Reppamon or Gatomon without any issues. But besides these Digimon and Tamers, there are 2 other option cards that have assisted with this deck's persistence to live. The Hero of Hope and Protector of Light starter decks each offered a single card that honestly provides some utility in their own way. And since I mentioned Option Card and Protector of Light, you know one of my favorite option cards is coming back for another discussion. Island of Adventure is a 2-cost white option card that while you have no face-up Island of Adventure security cards, you ignore this card's color requirement. While it is face-up in security, on all turns, all of your level 3 or higher Digimon get plus 2000 DP. Its main effect adds the top security card to your hand, and then places this card face-up as the top security card. In security, you may play one tamer card from your hand without paying the cost. So there are a few things to break down here. If you utilize the effects of BT6 Taikamiya and take yourself to 0 security, this means that your Bond of Bravery or Bond of Bravery Ace does not get deleted at end of turn. But the problem is, you're at 0 security. Island of Adventure is one of the few cards you can utilize to put yourself back to 1 security because it's not conditional to add the top security card to hand. It's similar to Blinding Ray. This is one of the effective ways to play additional tamers. But the heck am I running from Hero of Hope? It's the option card here too. With Genai's House, likewise, it's basically a recovery plus 1 when you're at 0 security. And if you're at 0 after bonding, provided you have the memory, it could also be any of these 2 white option cards, and Revelation of Light with Kari in play, for putting yourself back up to 2. The best utilization of Genai's House also enables you to play out a level 3 Digimon from your trash without paying cost. And considering your opponent may or may not realize that an Agumon on board means a potential Bond of Bravery Ace play, it's absolutely hilarious. This isn't the only trick though, because while you have 1 or more security cards, the BT15 Gatomon converts these to 1-cost option cards once per turn. In regards to combos, I honestly forgot how long it's been since playing a deck that doesn't build for 4 to 5 turns, then vomits a board or OTKs. Instead, this build does more chip damage, which may or may not be appropriate for the current format, but the concept for this was really fun and I couldn't pass up sharing this build. Your turn 1 starter of course is looking to flip Koromon, Evo into a red-yellow Agumon, then Digivolve into Gatomon to pass turn. When you promote this Gatomon, you have Barrier, so for the most part, the only problems that you'll run into are going to be option cards that delete, bounce, de-Digivolve, or DP reduce. There are a few different sequences you can also do. If you utilize the EX4 Agumons and you play it at a tamer like Taikamiya and Karikamiya, this will enable you to go into 2 memory on your turn with Agumon's effect, Evo into Gatomon before you attack and utilize the suspension of the dual tamer to reduce the security Digimon's DP by 2000 DP, and triggering Agumon's effect for a draw. Gatomon will contest any Digimon because of its barrier effect, which means whether you trash or not, you still draw a card off of the Koromon for a net plus 2. A simple passback could be as simple as Genai's House, which could choke at 1 memory. That's just one early damage scenario. You could also be utilizing the standard red Agumons from BT14 and climbing into BT17 Greymon with the TIE Tamer in play, resulting in board control. The best utilization of this Greymon also allows you to Digivolve back into a red-yellow Agumon when you're done, and then go back into Gatomon for memory trapping your opponent. Even if she's deleted now, you'll get value off the Greymon by playing another Tamer. But this is where while you're doing all this damage, you're also setting up the Agumon in the back to get into a Bond of Bravery play to end the game at 1 security. Largely, the deck profile for today's video has a lot of flexible spots and is a baseline variant that I've been playtesting with. You might find other items that work, and you might find some of the cards in this build not as effective. For eggs, the only eggs I tested with was Koromon from BT14, because whenever I chip security damage off my opponent, that's a card draw. With Barrier Gatomon, that body is really sticky, and even if I am trashing my own security to keep it alive, I'm just slowly getting to the point where Bond of Bravery Ace is live for blasting. Honestly, I'm not a fan of any of the other Koromons, though because the deck does not utilize scrambles or trainings, the BT21 Koromon is also viable, but would require a red or yellow tamer that can suspend. Because of the condition of the other one and is only affected by blockers, this is a toss-up on what your local meta is playing. For the level 3s, it's all Agumons, though out of all the Agumons, there are only 2 Agumons from Tai's side of things. One disadvantage about this Agumon is that it only gives a DP buff of 2000 DP, while the Digimon is Greymon in name. Which means for this particular list, this only assists with the white Greymons and Geo Greymon. However, in preliminary testing, I haven't removed it from the build because there are times where that free Evo is nice. Otherwise, I maxed out on the 4 variants from EX4 for the card draw inheritable and memory gain at the start of main, which makes most of my starting turns 2 to 3 memory even without a memory fixer. The other 4 of being the one from BT21 because this Digimon provides a 2000 DP buff without any restrictions. And then a split on the BT12 and BT13 Agumons because of their inheritables. Although neither really has a function for searching or making Marcus Thaman live, it's the inheritable that can specifically help for this deck. There are instances where your memory can go up to 7 or 8 memory in a turn, which means by promoting up either of these Agumons, you can play Revelation of Light to stack it to the top, then Digivolve in a Reppamon to trash the top card. By DP reducing a total of 11,000 DP on one body, or 5,000 across the board, that means that with their inheritable you can do additional DP reductions, or even outright delete it by suspending a tamer. I haven't tinkered on any of the yellow Agumons yet, though I'm sure I could if I decide to opt for the yellow koromon egg. Level 4 wise, I've covered these pretty in depth already and I don't feel the need to put up any additional comments on the greymon, reppamon, or gatomon. Although the BT13 Geo Greymon can be bossed because it gives you security knowledge, and what potential items you could be trashing. Do note that the Greymon can also be treated as Agumon on your opponent's turn, which is another Blast Evo target. Because this deck is designed more around Agumon Bond of Bravery, there aren't any level 5s or 6s, although you could adjust for Rise Greymons or even the Warp Digivolving Shine Greymon if you really wanted to. I opted not to, and just stayed with Bond of Braveries. For the Bond of Braveries, you have 3 of the old variant as this is pigeonholed to only be usable with an Agumon and the BT6 Tai Kamiya. It's not as strong and it does require an opponent's Digimon to be deleted for it to proc. As for the Ace variant, it literally is your ace in the hole if you happen to have a Genai's house as the last security, to bring back Agumon and save your life. Additionally, because the Ace variant deletes up to its DP threshold, option cards like Island of Adventure being revealed also add to the DP removal. Option card wise, you maximize the number of Revelation of Lights that you have because you have so many avenues of trashing cards. And with a meta that is largely looking at hitting security or trashing them, having enough memory at times could set up 2 of these back to back that just make a Ruin Mode blanket effect through your turn. With of course the Island of Adventures and Genai's house working double time for supplying DP to gatomons to chip away at your opponent's life. As for tamers, you're of course running the Tai Kamiyas from BT6, but in some testing I'm finding 4 to be cloggy. Instead, utilizing Kari Kamiya from BT15 further assists with not just memory fixing, but giving a security tech -1 if it's trashed. Last but not least, the Tai Kamiya and Kari Kamiya tamers are godlike in this build, being the primary ways to trigger your effects when a red or yellow tamer would be suspended, and allowing you to gain up to 2 memory as you manipulate your life and take out your opponents. All in all, this build isn't something I'd expect to see at Bandai Card Games Fest, but it is a build that I happened upon after thinking about some of the newer cards. If you think this build is interesting and want to try it out, I definitely recommend it. I haven't seen anything like this, and was honestly surprised at how well the deck flowed in some test games. But what are your thoughts? And what other discussions do I have this week? Stay tuned, because there's always something to talk about in the Digimon card game. This DIGI-PANDA? Logging out.